Hello, people of the internet. This is Kaiju Noir, and here with me, back on the channel, is the one and only Enshohma.
Hello, everyone. You're very lucky to have me and Andres, or Kaiju Noir.
Yeah,
Darn.
back together.
Yes, indeed.
This time recording in person.
Yes, inside the car after seeing Attack on Titan Part 1, the live-action adaptation of the famous anime and manga.
Yeah, it's surprising how popular this franchise has boomed into ever since. Like, it came out in 2013, I believe.
Yes, I believe. If not, I think maybe
2014.
I think maybe earlier. The manga itself in 2009, but I could be mistaken. Yeah.
Right, but it's since kind of taken the world by storm. It's kind of like already on its way to kind of becoming like almost like the next DBZ in terms of like recognition amongst the anime community.
Yeah. I'd also compare it to like the popularity of Full Metal Alchemist and Death Note of recent. So
Definitely. And how familiar are you with Attack on Titan? Like, would you consider yourself a fan of this like particular property?
Being a giant monster fan, of course, I got into it quite quickly. I don't read the manga, but I have been checking out the anime, and I read a lot of detailed synopsises of the manga. So yeah, I'm pretty much a big fan. And of course, being in Enshohma, giant monsters, why not? So.
Yeah, it's kind of our thing right there
Yes,
on the internet. I quickly got into Attack on Titan. I've heard people talk about it, so I checked it out on Netflix maybe like a year ago, back when that dub was out. Then I watched the whole thing again on Toonami with the English dub.
Right.
And I haven't read the manga, though I have a friend of mine who has kind of checked it out. So there's that. And so I've been really curious about this movie here, especially considering that it's not only made by Toho, but it's being directed by Shinji Higuchi, which, as many kaiju Japanese monster movie fans know, he was the special effects director behind both the Heisei Gamera trilogy as well as Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, as well as I believe he was also the main director for Gihara, the dark and long-haired monster.
He may have been connected to those, but he was definitely behind the Gamera trilogy. He also did the special effects on the short film Giant God Warrior Appears in Tokyo.
Right, which he did with he collaborated with Studio Ghibli and Hideaki Anno.
Yes, and both of those guys are going on to do the new Godzilla movie next year.
Right, so. Shin Godzilla.
That's no doubt going to be a bitch when they translate it for American theaters. So.
I know one of the translations for Shin is God, so imagine they put God Godzilla, like God Square Zilla.
Yeah, Shin is also used for real or true. Yeah, so it's gonna be a weird one.
Right. So this is kind of like as Godzilla fans, I'm assuming that this was the case with you. Like, we were kind of paying attention to the progress of this movie because it was kind of like his test to see. This is like the movie to test his capabilities as a director.
Yes. This is very much a preview of what's to come next year. And with that said, you want to share your thoughts on this movie in particular?
Right. Okay. So I just want to go over a quick little synopsis, in case there's people out there who are watching my review because, they follow my monster movie reviews and may not know about Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan basically is the world has kind of gone to shit because giant humanoid monsters known as Titans appeared out of nowhere for some reason. They devour humans like giant mindless zombies, essentially.
Right.
And it's kind of pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. But humanity has been able to, what little remains of humanity has been able to protect or able to preserve themselves through the means of building like 3 giant walls to keep the Titans out. So 100 years have passed. We meet our main protagonist, Eren, Armin, and Mikasa. These are 3 children, or rather they're teenagers in the live action movie, and their lives are suddenly rocked. The status quo is broken because a mysterious colossal Titan, which is like a 100-meter long, I believe, Titan, 100-meter foot tall Titan.
He's shows a big boy. That's all you need to know.
He's like, fuck your wall. And so he unleashes a whole bunch of Titans to break through the first wall. Humanity is in peril, so our main protagonists, they've grown up to become these like soldiers who are able to use like Spider-Man steampunk technology to be able to fight back against the Titans. And so the main story then happens. And that's essentially it. I guess the biggest thing I took away with this film is that it felt like it was heavily padded. Whereas, like, this is a movie that was stretched over for 2 films. Yeah. And I noticed that what changes they made to the source material was made specifically to extend the story and have it go what feels like hours on end.
Yeah, it's understandable because no offense to the Japanese film industry, there's no way you can make a direct adaptation of Attack on Titan without, going overboard. And even though I know the original manga and anime series had tons of characters who were not Asian or Japanese, they kind of did a reverse race bending here.
It's like in the original source material, it kind of took place in this. It seemingly took place in this alternate timeline where it's like the Middle Ages and the most advanced technology they've ever created were like cannons and the three-dimensional, what do you call it?
The 3D maneuvering
Ability. Yeah, little steampunk things that is able to shoot harpoons and able for them to swing through buildings and use their swords to slice off the weak points of a Titan.
Yes, and the thing about the original manga and anime is that they do kind of keep us ambiguous whether or not this is a post-apocalyptic future or if this is an alternate world, like you said, where, giants and human beings have unfortunately not lived side by side.
Yeah.
For this live-action movie, though, they make it very abundant that this is indeed a post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah, like right after like a modern age, where it seems like humanity is kind of somehow wiped themselves already, screwed themselves over with with nuclear war or whatever, and the Titans were just like maybe a result of this sort of thing.
Yeah, and even knowing that the manga series itself again has kind of gone into detail exactly what Titans are, and we're getting a good idea what the hell's going on. Here it's just pretty much post-apocalyptic future. Giants showed up, or Titans, if you will.
Right. So. One of the examples when I meant by like stretching out a movie, stretching out the length of this movie is that, especially was with how they handled the 3D maneuvering gear, where they kind of 3D maneuvering gear was something that was already established in the series, even before the Titans show up. So it's like the characters are then learning how to train, how to use these things, and quickly get better at it as they go along. With here, they spend a lot of time like saying, "Oh, we just invented these right now," and so they spend a good amount of the movie learning how to use them, and so until the climax is like, "Hey, I'm super." The main character, Aaron, he's like, "Hey, I'm super pro at this now."
Exactly. Oddly enough, now that you bring up the padding part, oddly enough, this reminds me of a lot of the film franchises like The Deathly Hallow or Mockingjay, where they split up a single book into two different movies, and the first part goes as slow as crazy, slow as hell, if you will, and then they save all the good stuff for the second half, and based on the spoiler alerts, it's based on the trailer for the part 2.
Seems like a lot of that's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of the more exciting stuff is going to happen for the second movie. So, and in a sense, it reminded me of that unfortunate negative you get with a lot of Hollywood two-parters.
Yeah, where it's like the first one especially in this case, feels a lot more like one big exposition heavy introduction.
Yeah, another freaking origin story from Hollywood. I mean Japan.
Japan. Maybe they looked over at like Harry Potter and Hunger Games and like, "Hey, we can apply this to our movies."
Don't make me do I don't Reiki thing, okay? I'm sorry to our
Reiki this.
No, I'm sorry, our Japanese listeners. So, but yeah, it's unfortunate too because, okay, the great thing about, I will say this: when the Titans attack, when the Titans are on film, there are quite a bit of action sequences in the movie. So it's not like your most modern day Japanese fantasy films where we get something really cool at the beginning, maybe something cool at the end. There are quite a bit of neat sequences spread throughout, and I have to admit, when the Titans themselves, fantastic. Oh, it's almost, those scenes alone are like a nightmarish masterpiece.
Very much so. And it's like the level of gore applied to this movie is pretty much faithfully recreated from what occurred in the anime. But the thing is, it feels a lot more disturbing in live action.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like whenever you see like the humans hanging out the Titans' mouths, I'm like,
yeah. It's what's hilarious is, at least in the anime, the Titans have the good manners to swallow their food. Here, it's like they bite off limbs, they bite off, rip people apart in order to get to the good stuff, the good meats. And not only that, but I like how they did give the Titans themselves a little bit of a personality as opposed to the
Yeah.
stone-faced zombies of the anime and the manga.
Especially when they're actually given voices.
Yeah,
They can, vocalize their like primal feelings.
Yeah. It's like the smiling Titan may look a little lifeless with the makeup they put on her. That's the Titan who attacks Mikasa early on.
Her laugh.
Yeah, that laugh was pretty scary. And also, I have to admit, I love the bulbing belly Titan and his horrific death throes.
Probably the most disturbing Titan for me is the one with like his eyes are like very far apart from each other. He's like one of the first ones to walk through the wall.
Yeah, I can't tell if that was like a very good. Well, here's the thing. I will say I love that the Titans themselves is a great mix between special effects makeup and CGI tweaking on some of them. And I think that was a mixture of both of them. And if so, that was definitely one of the more effective ones. I can understand why some fans of the anime is a little upset that the Titans come off looking a little silly. But let's face it, like the Titans really are kind of silly in a nightmarish sense.
Especially like since I feel like this goes all the way back to like Frankenstein versus Barugon, where whenever you have like a humanoid monster on screen, it's a giant humanoid monster. It's always going to look a little awkward, especially when you see a giant human interacting with a smaller human.
Yeah, although thankfully, unlike a big budget Hollywood movie, we actually got actors playing the Titans, and it feels more natural than say whatever the hell that giant in that one Harry Potter movie was supposed to be. It was all CGI and weird, or Jack the Giant Killer, that one movie from a couple of years ago.
The biggest problems I have with when it comes to the Titans is the green screen used whenever Titans and humans are interacting with each other on screen. For whatever reason, it feels like the frame rate during those sequences feels a lot more higher and thus looks a bit more looks really awkward or more fake. Where like normally a film is supposed to run at 24 frames per second, yet whenever the Titans, they're doing their thing, it feels like I'm looking at a 48 frames per second sequence. Did it ever look like that? Like it kind of looked more like the sequences look too fluid.
Yeah, it did, but ironically, I actually thought this was some of the better green screening I've seen in Japanese fantasy films of recent, especially the Smiling Titan, again, when she shows up and threatens Mikasa early. Am I saying her name right?
I think it's Mikasa. Sometimes, being from a Spanish background, I'm like, Mikasa.
Mikasa, yeah. What it's like when the Smiling Titan show up to menace Mikasa, I thought that was actually a good blending of a green screen and a live action. Although towards the end, when you had like close-ups of the of our heroes swinging on the 3D maneuvering gear, the green screen was quite obvious.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was actually pretty well done, all things considering. And it, even knowing, you can tell it's not real and it's fake, it did come off a lot better than, say, the live-action Devilman movie, which I will not rant right now. We have limited time. So
another thing is there is one particular, actually two. There are two. Without going to the spoilers, there are two particular Titans that seem to be like one I know is a man in a costume. The other I'm not sure if he is. I'll say, all right, the Colossal Titan, since he's in the trailers.
It's a good thing you bring that up. There was a recent documentary called the Tokusatsu Renaissance, and the Colossal Titan is actually a oversized puppet.
Okay.
Worked by several men in blue suits, because blue screen. And then they add CGI to give it a little bit of extra face movements, facial expressions, as well as the steam. And what's hilarious is that there is indeed an actor at the bottom, a suit actor, but it's almost like Orochi the Eight-Headed Dragon. He barely does anything but moves it.
Right.
So yes, the Colossal Titan is actually a large puppet.
Okay.
It's not as effective as the way the Colossal Titan is portrayed in the anime. But I thought it was a somewhat decent effect. So.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of the suit used for the second Titan. I just thought that his skin looked a little too rubbery. Like, I know he's got so much detail going on with him that it begins to look really awkward. And his head, the mouth itself, looked kind of like a Muppet mouth.
Yeah, now this Titan, again, spoilers, is of course the one we're talking about, Eren.
Right.
And but he's better known as the Rogue Titan. That's his official kaiju name. And the sad thing about the Rogue Titan is, with the Colossal Titan, it's obvious a puppet, but it still looks like the Colossal Titan. With Eren, though, the thing I love about the original design of the Rogue Titan was that he had very human-looking eyes, and I would love to have seen that done as makeup effects. Unfortunately, they decided to go with a full creature suit, and it's almost like a horror movie equivalent of an Ultraman suit. It's just full on rubber. Yeah, and it's the mouth is okay, but the fake eyes kind of threw me off, even knowing they obviously added a little bit of CGI to give them a little bit of facial expressions.
Right.
But it was a little bit of a disappointment, but maybe the suit will improve a bit with the part 2.
I would like to remain hopeful, but given that these movies were filmed back to back, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, Japan, your filming schedules are incredibly brief.
Rushed.
Yes, brushed. It's like I both admire you and hate you for it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, although the Armored Titan, from what little we saw, looks great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. Now onto like the characters themselves. I feel like they were now. Of course, there were a lot of changes made between when translating them into this live action film, and I know that I personally am okay with making large changes to the source material that differ from the source material, as long as it's at least as good or better than the source material,
or it stands on its own.
Yeah, or is able to stand on its own. I feel like these characters themselves are quite inferior to what came before in the anime, at least, because I have yet to read the manga itself.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about the manga and the anime is that they do give you plenty of time to get to know these characters. Right. Even some of the poor incidental characters, like that gorgeous brunette with the ponytails, whose name escapes me. I feel so
Potato
sorry
Girl?
No. She was another girl who ended up getting killed by. Thankfully, she got into a coma, hitting her head against a building before she was devoured. But I don't know. I'll send you an image. You'll probably put it with the video.
Well, normally with these sorts of theatrical movie reviews, I just put like one image for the whole video.
Well, there goes my secret anime crush. But hey. Anyways,
the thing is, at least when it came, you're right. With a TV show, they're able to develop these characters, add on a lot of interesting detail, a lot of interesting character arcs, but at least there are certain core components that always make them interesting, especially when it comes to their background. Like Mikasa, she's kind of like been brought into Aaron's family after Aaron stepped in to save her when they were very little. Therefore, she's always incredibly loyal to him, loyal to him, like to the death. Armin, he's kind of like this coward, but he is inspired by Aaron.
Yeah, and he's very clever and smart in his own right, so much so that a lot of fans of the show tend to forget he comes up with some brilliant strategies against the Titans.
And with Aaron himself, he's always got that extremely strong sense of justice where he wants to stand up for the little guy. He wants to, achieve like freedom and peace for he fights for his friends and family. We don't really get any of that here, or even if it is there, it's extremely watered down.
Yeah, it's
especially
truncated, I think. Truncated, I think, would be a good way to say it.
Especially when it comes to Mikasa. She's almost a completely different character here, and that interesting backstory, that relationship, that very strong relationship with Aaron, it's gone. Armin, he's kind of like the stereotypical tech guy. So they kind of have put a little bit of the whole strategizing part into him, but it's kind of quickly dropped by the end of the film.
Exactly, and he really does come off like the Armin that most fans accuse him of being. So
yeah, and Aaron himself, he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Even worse, though, I think Gene suffered the worst, because even knowing Gene himself in the manga and anime is kind of a dick, he's likable and you get to know him better, and he comes to respect Aaron quite early on.
Gray-haired guy, right?
Yes, gray-haired guy, yes.
Well, he's not gray hair in this one, because this is real life.
Or does not have a horse for a head, so...
That's kind of like what Aaron... Well, my problem with Aaron is that he doesn't really have that strong of a motivation to fight the Titans. I mean, in the original source material, his mother died. Now, if the death of one of your own parental figures doesn't inspire you to go kick some ass, I don't know what, but here it's like Mikasa is used in that place instead. But then Mikasa, she's not dead, so there's that motivation for fighting the Titans is kind of gone, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that the death of Aaron's mother is sort of like his Uncle Ben, without the Uncle Ben death. It's like a huge part of the character that's now gone, and so not only is his motivation really like not all there, but again, most of the time, he just likes to pick fights and have a pointless rivalry with Gene, and
Yeah.
Nothing else. Just be a total prick to everybody.
You know, that's the problem with adaptations of long-going series. A lot gets truncated or edited out. And it's funny, the essence of the characters are there, but the details that really, and the personalities are greatly lost. Potato Girl for herself, she's completely lovable, Sasha, in the anime. Here, she's just kind of a not so funny
comic
relief character. Yeah,
that's another thing. The comic relief in this movie kind of felt out of place.
Yeah. Sometimes I enjoyed it. I got it. Yeah,
like the goggles girl.
Oh yeah, Hanji. And I know everyone hates that scene, but it's nice to see like one guy with an axe and throwing titans around. And
I was okay. You mentioned that you kind of knew what was up with him. I was like, how is he? What's going on with that guy?
Okay,
he's like strong enough to throw titans and chop off their ankles.
Yeah, the character is a movie exclusive character named Seongi, but the part where he throws a titan
by grabbing the arm alone.
Yeah, and then throwing him a bit. There is kind of
like a seismic toss.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a precedent for that in the anime itself. Titans are unnatural creatures by biology's sake, and they're much lighter than they should be.
Oh,
so that's somewhat realistic, at least in the rules of this universe. And I do like seeing humans take on giant monsters. Like I love the Ebra scene from Final Wars. Yeah, wonderful scene. Even though poor Ebra gets his ass kicked.
Yeah,
but at the same time, yeah, for a lot of people who, you know, that would seem a little out of place. And plus, there are no semi-superhumans in Attack on Titan outside, you know, the Mikasa and probably, the Titan shifters themselves.
Well, I forgot. What was the name of that one guy who trained Mikasa, his character's name? Because I can't remember at the moment.
I can't remember either. We'll just call him Evil McShifty. Commander Shikashima? I think something like that.
He's probably movie exclusive because, he has an obviously Japanese name, and nobody outside of Armin and Eren have the old European names. We mentioned. I forgot we didn't elaborate on the whole race bending thing. In the original Attack on Titan series, it takes place in a kind of like a European medieval setting with only one Japanese character, that being Mikasa. They brought that to attention, saying that she is the last Asian in that society. Yeah. So here it's kind of like a reverse where everyone is, you know, Asian because, you know, there's a Japanese movie. Multi-ethnic actors in Japan are kind of hard to come by. Yeah. Although with Mikasa, didn't she seem a little bit Anglo-Saxon a bit?
Probably. That may have just been the way the actress looked. So, although
she looked more white than everyone else, I'm like, what happened? Wait, hold on. You made the one Asian character white.
It's somewhat, sorta. Yeah. Like you just mentioned, it's somewhat forgivable here because Japan doesn't exactly. This isn't the 1960s where there was tons of Gaijin actors, all of very good talent. You know, there's no Robert Dunham who could have showed up in this movie.
No Nick Adams.
Yeah, no Nick. Although Nick Adams in Attack on Titan, that would have been awesome. So, you filthy, dirty rats! How could you do this to her?
All right, Fuji, let's get ready to kick some ass.
That's right, Glenn. And they're just whipping around Titans everywhere. So.
That's amazing. I want fan art of Glenn and Fuji going around in those Attack on Titan uniforms, scout uniforms.
Yeah. It's like, what side would Frankenstein be on, though? That's the big question.
He would be the rogue Titan, you know, kicking ass.
Yeah, why not? So yes. I do.
You're an artist. You need to draw that shit.
Yes, I will. So maybe. So.
He says as he lies through his teeth.
That was my teeth. Anyways, but yeah, now they are talking about trying to do a Attack on Titan movie for American audiences.
Really? Already?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I get the funny feeling that when that comes around, and this is America, you can cast it with all the Europeans you want, but when it comes to Mikasa, I bet they're going to pick like the whitest actress imaginable.
Like the actress who played Chun-Li? In the second Street Fighter movie?
At least she, that's a good point. Although at least she has some Asian in her blood. No, I'm thinking of something like, no offense, Scarlett Johansson, but really you as the Ghost in the Shell girl, I don't see. Hollywood, why?
What? No.
Right. It's like John Wayne as Genghis Khan.
Me so sorry, Pilgrim.
Oh God, It's weird, yeah, but then again, Hollywood has a weird habit of always taking like the most Japanese properties imaginable and whitewashing them. The Last Airbender, of course, gave us race bending, even though it's not based on a Japanese property. So I'm kind of looking forward to a Hollywood Attack on Titan movie because, again, at least they picked an anime with a bunch of characters who are European or white, as opposed to Warner Brothers saying, "We're gonna make a Naruto movie." Naruto, whatever.
Oh yeah, I did remember. I mentioned like the pacing. It feels like I feel like a lot there. I feel like a lot of these exposition heavy scenes where there are either like 2 or 3 characters are just talking to each other, just spouting out some backstory or whatever. It's feel like these scenes feel incredibly empty. There's no music, there's no interesting cinematography. It's just they're on screen, the camera stays on them, and it feels the acting itself kind of even though I'm not really able to gauge good or bad Japanese acting. I mean, I can certainly gauge over the top acting, but the acting kind of felt a little bit flat, and these scenes just feel incredibly empty with these characters just talking to each other while nothing else is happening for like 5 to 10 minute stretches of the film.
Yeah. Again, not only is this a problem with Japanese fantasy films in recent years, especially post late 70s, Legend of Dinosaurs, but it's also like the 2-part Hollywood adaptation where barely anything happens in the first part, Deathly Hallows Part 1, and then they save all the good stuff for the second part. And it's a shame, too, because apparently the second movie came out in Japan 3 days ago at the point of this recording.
Already there's like, it seems like they have the exact opposite problem where there's too much action. And
Yeah, but I don't know. I still want to see the second part just to see how, the whole thing works together as a cohesive whole. But at the same time, I have the funny feeling that they should have really just made one film and had a much better beginning, middle, and end as opposed to another setting up the blocks for the sequel, which I'm getting sick and tired of in Hollywood films especially. And I did not want to see it in a Japanese kaiju film. So...
the sound. Remember, I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
It seemed like maybe this could be the problem with the theater that we watched the film at, but I got the feeling that somebody must have fucked up when it came to sound editing because the score itself is barely audible.
Yeah.
I know that the speakers in our theater, they were definitely big, loud, and clear, and especially when it came to the characters' voices, we could hear them, and the special effects especially the blood sound effects when you hear all the squishing and everything. I could hear that. It almost made me sick in some.
I noticed you weren't doing well at that first attack.
I'm like I'm drinking like my icy. I'm like.
Well, to make it more awkward, I was eating a gummy child. So
Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
But the music itself, I really like the score. It kind of feels like a mix of old and new. You can feel a little bit of influence from Akira Ifukube, especially when you hear like that loud brass score, like bum 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 bum.
Yeah. The great thing about the kaiju genre is they always have good soundtracks. And they always stand on their own as good listens. And this had a very operatic feel towards it.
And sometimes there's kind of like a little bit of rock thrown in there. You kind of hear like a guitar riff.
Yeah, although not as extreme as they do it in the anime. That's like full-blown rock and orchestral. But no, it's a very good score in its own right. But like you said, it's too low compared to the sound effects are great. The dialogue is clear, but then like during the major action sequences, you can barely hear the soundtrack, and it does take you out of it. And it might be the theater, to be honest. This is my first time actually being inside this theater, despite being familiar with it. But well, I'll have to watch the movie again on DVD just to see if that problem remains.
Or I can probably get in touch with my friend Gorazard. He can probably pirate it for you.
Oh, good old Gorazard, the pirate king of kaiju.
So. He is a pirate!
Arr! Captain Mutiny lives in him!
Gorazard the Go-Kaiger.
Indeed.
I'm trying to think. There's probably one more subject I probably haven't gone. Oh yeah. I mentioned that there are certain stretches of time where almost nothing happens, or something happens, or it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
there was this one character who's probably like probably anime exclusive, I believe. Like there's this character
Movie exclusive.
Movie exclusive, where we get a really pretty decent scene between her and Aaron, and then it kind of goes into a very odd and awkward romance sort of thing before being mercifully ended quickly. Yeah. But then, like, they spend this whole scene establishing who she is and in a way kind of building the world, which is kind of nice for a change. And then they kill her off. I'm like, what was the point of establishing this character?
Yeah, it really feels like a lot of horror movies in America where they create these really interesting characters and then you just kill them off, with little to no fanfare. What's funny, though, I should note that in the anime itself, there is a really good scene where in the movie and the anime, poor Aaron, spoilers, gets devoured by a titan and he's inside the stomach. In the anime, there is a poor girl who's in her death throes. And I think maybe this character, Hyana, I think that's her name, is loosely based on that unfortunately minor victim.
So they basically used her as like, not a scapegoat, but basically...
a catalyst?
A catalyst, yeah. Catalyst that sets Aaron's motivations into and kicks his motivations into high gear and wanting to.
Yeah, I know the audience around us are probably more forgiving in anime than less forgiving of live action kaiju films. They were kind of laughing at everything connected to this character. I did feel sorry for her though, to be honest. So I'd probably go crazy and burst out of a fat titan too if I was in that position. So.
And let's see, what was the name of that older soldier?
Oh, Soido, I think Soida or something. He is based on a character from the anime, but I don't know if it's the same name or not.
He's the blonde guy, right?
Blonde guy? Yes. In the anime, in the anime, he has a mustache. Here, though, I don't know who they got to play that actor, but he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, he was probably the best character in the whole movie. I actually wouldn't have minded if the whole movie was about him.
Yeah, we need older gentlemen in kaiju films or in anime in general. So it's like what Shin Godzilla has like 3 young, sexy leads,
2 of which were actually in this movie.
Yes, the actress who's going to be in Shin Godzilla is in fact the same actress playing Hanji.
Right.
Yeah, shows she's going to geek out and fall for Godzilla in the movie.
Yeah.
So.
She, despite her over the topness and how it kind of almost took me out of the film in a way because of how over the top she is, I feel like she was pretty decent. She was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. Well, if you're familiar with the character of Hanji, she's spot on, and the actress does a good job with her, and she's probably one of the few outrageous comic relief characters that feels on point. Because as grim as Attack on Titan gets, there is a lot of good character comedy going on in the anime, at least.
Yeah. And it's especially when it came to like the inner dialogues between the characters.
Exactly. And but like I said, because this movie is only 2 hours long, and unfortunately
it's kind of bouncing all over the place. We don't really have that camaraderie between everyone outside of this. It'll not chauvinistic, but sort of like this meat-headed rivalry between
Gene and Aaron.
Yeah.
And
they have this like dick measuring contest.
Yeah, it really was just forced conflicts that you see a lot in melodrama, especially in Japanese cinema. Sorry, Japan. So I love you, but.
So let's see. I believe that covers everything that I want to say. Was there anything you want to bring up about this movie?
I just want to, again, the Titans themselves, I thought were fantastic. It's a masterpiece of nightmarish imagery. I love the fact that it's a combination of CGI and makeup. I thought they were great. Aaron's Titan form is the most disappointing, unfortunately. The Colossal Titan is pretty cool, even though it's nothing compared to how effective the anime was. But yeah, the other Titans are just really good, and I thought they did a great job with that. And with that said, with the special effects and some of the spectacle that you do get in this movie, I am very much looking forward to Shin Godzilla coming next year, based on what they were able to accomplish here. And let's face it, Godzilla is slightly bigger news in Japan right now than... arguably, thanks to the 2014 movie here in America.
Yeah.
But with that says, I'm ready to give this one a final rating because it wasn't as awesome as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Oh yes, my
said rating you were
right. Sorry, I got distracted by the pretty Asian lady next to us. All right, I do the 4-star system, and I would give this a pretty strong 2.5 out of 4 stars. That's a decent, worth checking out.
Okay.
But it's decent. So.
It's kind of a really mixed bag. I mean, it gets the basics of what Attack on Titan is. It gets like it feels like a very generalized version of the main story.
Right,
A little
right.
bit watered down, but in some ways it enhances like the nightmarish qualities. The Titans themselves feel frightening. They feel like a legitimate threat.
Yeah, disturbing too, like you mentioned.
Absolutely disturbing. The characters, on the other hand, because of the story itself, feels very padded. It feels like padded and rushed at the same time.
Yeah,
And the characters very suffer because we don't really get a lot out of them. We don't really get a strong sense of like friendship or that camaraderie, that teamwork. That was such a strong focus in the anime, and that's a really strong thing. That's like, sure, anybody can make like a giant monster property, but with a good story and good characters, that's how you can make something like Attack on Titan become as popular as it is. And while it has the monsters, it doesn't, and the basics of the story, it doesn't really have like the characters, it doesn't have the well-written characters to really support the story the story that they inhabit in a way. I'm not sure if I can't speak as well when I'm talking off the top of my head, but
welcome to my world. So
you can see why I tend to go scripted when it comes to my legit.
Yeah, if you could see us now, viewers, we have the faces of Titans right now. We're just tired and confused. So time to eat a gummy baby.
So I would probably recommend this to giant monster fans who are simply curious about the film.
Oh yeah. Come for the Titans for sure.
Which is why I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5. 2 meaning that there's kind of more bad than good, but the good is worth checking out for that small limited audience whose this film may be up their alley.
Yeah. I will say this, as a giant monster movie, it's very interesting to watch, especially for the Titan sequences. That's why I gave it 2.5 stars.
Because the premise itself is fairly unique.
Yeah, and they do execute a lot of the Titans themselves. Scenes with the Titans, great.
Yeah, that imagery, that iconic. I'm not sure if you can call it iconic, even though it's
it's memorable for sure.
The memorable,
and disturbing.
Yeah, the memorable imagery from the anime is luckily faithfully recreated with this film.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, a lot of the it's another movie where it got lost in the adaptation. A lot of things we love about the source material had to be dropped to fit in here. Sometimes it's understandable. Again, it's a Japanese big budget movie, nowhere compared to a Hollywood movie. But at the same time, things like a lot of the character interactions are lost, and little character moments go a long way, and this lacked a lot of it. A lot of padding in between. Like I said, for the giant monster sequences, great, but as an adaptation of Attack on Titan, it's lacking. And I think a lot of diehard fans would be kind of disappointed how a lot of the characters outside the Titans themselves, of course, got treated in this movie.
And let's see. When it comes to Shin Godzilla and Shinji Higuchi's abilities as a director, let's just say I'm very glad that he is working with Hideaki Anno, because I feel like with Hideaki Anno focusing more on the story and characters, and Higuchi focusing more on like the special effects and the more action-driven sequences, I feel like this movie does definitely show his strengths and his weaknesses at the same time. And with him focusing on the strengths for Shin Godzilla, I feel like he could still do a good job after learning from this experience.
Yeah. Despite the problems this movie has, it has me, as a giant monster fan, it has me pumped up to see what they can do with, first off, the second part of this movie, and also for Shin Godzilla next year. And hopefully, like the documentary Tokusatsu Renaissance noted, maybe this is the beginning of a new age of Japanese special effects films, giant monster and otherwise. So with Shinji Higuchi leading the way. So...
I do want to say that because we've given our ratings,
right?
I did want to talk about the ending, and I want to say it really ends at a very awkward point in the movie where, sure, as Attack on Titan fans, we know what happens to Eren, sort of, at this point, because season 2 doesn't come out until 2016.
Right.
We kind of get a basic understanding as to what happened to Eren and how he became a Titan. But yeah, the movie ends right after the very first, Eren Titan transformation.
The Rogue Titan, get it right.
Right. And so, it ends right there. So for anybody who's going into this movie with no prior experience in the anime, they're gonna be like, "What the? Where the fuck did this came from?" It feels like a very Deus Ex Machina without any sort of real build up to that point. I mean, we kind of got hints that in the anime, we kind of got hints that Aaron's dad did something to him. Prior to that moment in the anime.
Yeah, and not only that, but I think the anime handle it better because Aaron's dead, and then this rogue titan shows up, and for the most part, for the first couple episodes when that creature appears, you think the rogue titan is a totally new character, even knowing that clearly he looks a little bit like Aaron. So
yeah. I mean, as soon as you see the rogue titan pop out of the fat titan, you're like, okay, it's Aaron.
Yeah, the bulbous belly titan, as I like to call him. So that's my official fan name. Take it, everyone. Bulbous belly titan.
So go ahead.
No. Like I just love that they gave the titans a little bit of a personality. So when titans got scared, they got scared. I like to see my movie villains, kaiju and otherwise, suffer a bit.
So I just wanted to talk, just briefly mention that where it ends at a very awkward point in the whole stories to where it's like it doesn't really feel like a complete film. I mean, yes, it's part one, but still, it should. I feel like it should stand on its own, like have its own beginning, middle, and end. Here, it's just the beginning. Half of it is the beginning. Half of it is the middle with no end. Yeah.
And again, you get this problem with Deathly Hallows Part 1, the Hobbit movies, and usually ended on weird, awkward moments. Yeah, this is as much a problem you see in Hollywood as you do in the Japanese film industry. Although, to be honest, I think this is the first time I've seen Part 1 and Part 2 of a Japanese anime adaptation. So, but yeah, it does end on... And it sucks, too, because I was really looking forward to seeing... it needed a better climax than that. So... But again, there's enough about this movie I like to give it 2.5 stars. But I definitely agree with a lot of the problems, and I can see why a lot of the people in the audience around us were obviously fans of the anime and manga. They weren't happy.
Probably, like 8 of us in total.
Yeah.
Then again, it was 9:55.
Yeah, actually, there was like I think 20 people at least in the theater with us. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you are taller. You probably could see over everybody.
Oh yeah, yes. It's like there was multiple times where I almost bit your head off because I thought you were one of my jelly babies. So I'm sorry, little Andres. Kaiju Noir.
It's Totopoulos.
Cameron Winters. Nicodopoulos.
Okay, so that has been our review for Attack on Titan Part 1. Thank you very much, Enshohma, for being on the channel once again.
Oh, thank you, Kaiju Noir. Got your name right. For suffering with me throughout this. I know I'm more of a night owl, and you're more of an early morning person, so it's kind of a weird thing. Although the view is beautiful. We're filming this in a parking lot. So I just gotta say the view is beautiful. We're looking out on...
More like we're on top of a parking structure looking over all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, now that's the kind of city I want to see Godzilla fight Titans in, so...
Alright, so thank you everybody for listening, and hopefully we'll catch you later. I don't know if we'll be able to review Attack on Titan Part 2 together, like, today, considering, like, this was a specific set of circumstances where I'm like, hey, Enshohma, since I'm gonna be in town, want to do a review together?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I got nothing better to do. I'm so lonely.
I'm so lonely. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But no. For the most part, thanks for coming down here, and thanks for listening to us, ladies and gentlemen. So
where can people find you?
Oh, of course they can find me as on Enshohma at deviant.com. That's ENSHOHMA .deviant.com. I also have a Facebook page, Enshohma Lives. That's a public one, so anyone can visit that. And I have a YouTube channel also under the name Enshohma. So not that spectacular, especially compared to yours, dear sir. But yeah, you guys can reach me there, and by all means leave comments and questions, and because I'm a kaiju fanatic and I love talking about this stuff. So even if it's awkward Titan baby crap, so...
That scene, man.
Yeah.
But we won't get into that. We've already talked enough about this. So until next time, everybody, take care.
All right, take care too, everybody.